right. Hello, Brother Christensen. I'm Ellie Magleby, and I just wanted to start this by saying thank you for a great semester. I really enjoyed this class and actually learned a ton that I feel like will be useful for my future career. So, thank you for all of your hard work and for making it a great learning experience. A few disclaimers also before I start. I'm just wearing this blanket in case you're wondering what it is because I think I'm getting sick. So bear with me. I I haven't been feeling too well physically or mentally. And today's just been a long day, so I'll do my best, but just bear with me. All right, let's get started. So for my economic analysis project, I chose Delta Airlines. All right, so the first principle I would like to talk about is marginal utility, the law of diminishing marginal utility in utils. So we use the term utility to measure the satisfaction we get from a good or service. The way to measure utility is with utils. And utils help us to make everyday decisions because we base everything off of if we will like it or not. So utils are important to remember. Basically, customers want to be satisfied, or they will determine it is not worth the cost, whatever the cost may be. So basically, every passenger that boards a Delta flight has the same goal: to maximize utility. They want to get the best experience out of flying that they can. Every little part of the process of flying, we as customers are evaluating if we deem it worthy or not. And yes, I know flying is a necessity, so sometimes we just do it no matter what. But the law states that the more we consume, the less additional satisfaction we will get out of it. So this applies to everything from the booking process, when you first are researching your itinerary and trip, to the in-flight entertainment. Watching movies, the first one is going to be thrilling, and then after time you're just going to get more and more bored with it, to the quality of customer service during your experience with Delta. Let's see if I have pictures. So yeah, just the Delta team. So just some things about Delta. Delta prides itself on being known as the world's most awarded airline. Delta is consistently recognized for excellence in everything from passenger experience to customer service, operational performance to workplace culture. And just to list a few awards, they have won 2020. Fortune magazine named it one of the best companies to work for. Business Travel Awards named it the best long-haul airline. The Points guys named Delta best support of customers since COVID has affected the industry. Fortune has also named it the most admired airline, and it's number 19 on Fortune magazine's top 50 most admirable companies for its leadership and responsibility, innovation, and culture. Another cool award they've won is Wall Street Journal said it was the best US-based airline in 2019. Some other accolades that Delta has received in recent years are the most community-minded company in the United States. They are the world's largest organization dedicated to volunteer service. And these are just a few points of proof for how well Delta does at making sure customer utils are high. They know without customer loyalty, they are nothing. So analyzing how they can improve their customer satisfaction is something Delta has spent a great deal of time working on, and their hard work has paid off. I know my personal experience with Delta has been very positive. I keep coming back to this airline because I enjoy the experience more than with any other airline. My personal utils are quite high because I think flying is fun. I like people watching. I like the thrill of flying. I like the choices of movies we get to watch for free during the duration of the flight. I also love the free drinks, snacks, and sometimes even on longer flights, we get full-on meals. I also love the sense of adventure every time I'm traveling somewhere, so I associate traveling with Delta to be a positive experience. But that doesn't mean that sometimes customers find the price, as we call it, too high and not worth it. Examples of this would be long waiting lines to board the plane, sitting next to a rowdy passenger, not experiencing the best possible customer service, and so on. There's lots of things that lower people's utils. Ways Delta stands apart from competitors to increase utility is through providing an interactive map to help you book travel easier and safer during COVID. This is a new feature they just added to their website. It basically tells you what countries are open and not open to tourists right now. And they also show what airports Delta is flying into. They also have a loyalty program implemented where you earn Sky Miles with every flight you take or dollar you spend using their credit card. You also get rewards, upgrades, free checked bags, and priority boarding when you are a Sky Miles member. So if you are a frequent traveler and want to be loyal to an airline, it's a good way to save money. And I know it's helped me just love my experience even more at Delta, so it's fun to get free flights. All right, there's just a picture of the point guys saying they're the winner for 2020 best overall airline. Delta Sky Miles. All right, principle number 2, competition. So the airline industry is essentially an oligopoly. This means that the industry is controlled by a few main big players. They are essentially interdependent. This means that the actions of one company or corporation affects the others in the industry. The main players in the airline industry, at least for the United States, are American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United Airlines. Oh yeah, we could go back, I guess. This shows that they're the top 4 practically, and then there's a few other smaller ones. Where was I? So these 4 airlines make up 83% of the market share for the airline companies in the US. That's pretty cool. Delta is one of them. Delta's super successful, but they still have competition. Dang it. That's just how it works. So now when we talk about airlines, there are different classes of airline companies, and Delta is competing as an international economy-based airline. So airlines such as Southwest aren't as much of a threat because they are catering to different needs. They're a budget airline. So United and American Airlines, or US Airways, they're combined, are the main competitors to Delta in the United States. If we want to look at the bigger picture, we could look at the airline alliances, and we could group it that way as well. There are 3 main airline alliances. Delta is part of SkyTeam. Some other alliances, the other 2 alliances are Oneworld and Star Alliance. American Airlines is part of Oneworld, and United Airlines belongs to Star Alliance. These airlines help out the alliances, I told you I'm tired. My brain's giving out, but we will finish strong. These alliances, they give more freedom and stability to airlines such as Delta and make it easier for them to reach a global audience. They also help out the individual airlines financially, as well as with things such as sharing lounges at airports and flight routes. So I know in my personal experience, I've booked a flight from Salt Lake City to Munich, Germany, and flew on 3 different airline brands in the SkyTeam Alliance. I took a Virgin Atlantic flight to London, and then I'm pretty sure Air France to Paris. It was a crazy itinerary. And then KLM from Paris to Munich. It was a long journey. But that's cool that they could team up like that and share planes and passengers. So let's see. This just breaks down all the different airlines in each alliance and kind of shows you who's part of what. All right, we're moving on to principles number 3 and 4, which I chose to be the law of supply and the law of demand. So let's just start with some definitions of each to review. The law of supply states that other factors remaining it states that if other factors remain constant, price and quantity supplied of a good are directly related to each other. In other words, when the price paid by buyers for a good rises, then the suppliers increase the supply of that good in the market. And the law of demand states that other factors being constant, price and quantity demand of any good and service are inversely related to each other. When the price of a product increases, the demand for the same product will fall. These laws are true and seen in the airline industry, and specifically Delta. Booking a flight over a holiday weekend or surrounding the time of a big event means that Delta, as well as other airlines, will upcharge their tickets over those dates. Because they can, why not make a little more money when possible? That's just how economics works. When the demand for flying is higher, there is a direct link to price increase. Another determining factor is the influx in the price of fuel. When jet fuel becomes more expensive, so will the flight ticket to cover the costs. It could get more complicated than that, but Delta generally follows this. Other determinants include the income of travelers, the number of buyers, advances in technology and weather, and so on. Those are just a few examples. Delta will see a drop in the demand when the economy is bad, and vice versa when it is thriving. Also, sometimes you can't control if there's going to be a massive snowstorm, but usually winter months are not as heavy travel months, so seasonality is huge, and that determines supply and demand as well. So these are just examples like booking an airline ticket, fuel costs, weather affects flying. Okay, let's move on to principle number 5, which is government policies. Government policies, they really affect the airline industry, but Delta has thrived because of them and also in spite of them. They could either be good or bad, I've learned. One major policy that was lifted, or I guess created in 1978, is the Airline Deregulation Act. That deregulated the airline industry in the United States, basically moving the federal government control over areas such as fares, routes, and market entry of new airlines. Because of this, in the same year, Delta made their first transatlantic service, their first flight from Atlanta to London. Some other government regulations, such as the 5, there's a picture of the Deregulation Act being on the Time magazine cover and how big it was for the country and how it affected the economy. Delta's first flight, transatlantic. So another government regulation is the 5 freedoms of the air, which include the right to fly over a foreign country without landing, the right to land in a foreign country for technical reasons, the right to fly commercially from one country to another, the reverse of this, to fly from a foreign country to one's own country, and the right to pick up or drop off paying passengers when landing in a foreign country for technical reasons. So this law that was passed has helped Delta grow from practically, they started as a desk cropping company to an international acclaimed airline that we all know today as Delta Airlines. So not everything because of government regulation has positively benefited Delta, unfortunately. So back in 1930, the US government did not approve Delta for a mail contract. This forced suspension of passenger services, but thankfully 4 years later, they received Air Mail Route 24 from the US Post Office, and they were able to resume operating as a passenger carrier. So sometimes government regulations put a stint in the flow and business of an airline. Usually not as drastic as the example I just shared, but sometimes it can be. All right, principle number 6, taxes and subsidies. Taxation is one of the several methods used to mitigate the environmental impact of aviation. So yes, Delta, among with many other airlines, deal with heavy taxation, which is then passed on to the customer. Usually we pay taxes pretty heavily for an airplane ticket. Types of taxation include airport improvement fees, air passenger taxes, departure tax, jet fuel tax, landing fees, and solidarity tax on airplane tickets. These taxes are paid to different areas, like some go to the airport, some go to the airline, some there's just different depending on each one. This is just a little graphic showing some of those taxes that airlines have to deal with. Alright, and subsidies are also a part of the airline industry. Just in April of last year, the US government paid Delta Airlines $5.4 billion in funding to help with the effects of the pandemic by delaying furloughs and pay cuts basically until the end of this year is what they projected it would help with. This is just a picture of the CEO of Delta and President Trump shaking hands. So yeah, subsidies help keep airlines afloat, and they are good for the industry. All right, we'll move on to principle number 7, which is elasticity. Delta caters to both inelastic and elastic demands for seats on their flights. Generally, business and first class seats are inelastic because business travelers need what they need. Like, they aren't super flexible. They have to stay on a schedule and oftentimes don't plan ahead. They need to be to a specific destination where their meeting or convention is located, and so that makes them pretty inelastic. Whereas economy section of the airplane seems to be more elastic. This is due to the kinds of travelers that buy these seats booking months in advance to have cheaper fares and save money. Consumers, they have a lot of different choices and will compare the airlines. Delta wants to set themselves apart from competitors. So in this case, economic travelers are even willing to look at alternate destinations, and that's something different from business travelers. All right, principle number 8, the multiplier effect. Delta directly contributes to the economy by boosting the economic success of many countries across the globe, but it also contributes through the multiplier effect. Delta has served as many as 200 million people a year, that's just an average, taking customers across the industry-leading global network of up to 300 destinations in over 50 countries. That's pretty impressive. An example of Delta contributing to the aviation industry's impact through the multiplier effect is by looking at the report from the state of Florida. In 1 year, the aviation industry directly and through the multiplier effect contributes $1.4 million $1.4 million jobs to the state. On-airport jobs make up almost 400,000 of those jobs for a total of $22 billion in payroll. So that's a lot of money. Delta employees then go out and spend their income in their communities, which benefit the economy as a whole through direct spending. Delta employs 80,000 employees worldwide, impacting economies across the globe through the multiplier effect. So there's like direct spending, indirect spending. There's the stats. All right, principle 9, how markets determine pricing. So for this, Delta, they set prices through fare classes and restrictions. The classes Delta use, their terminology is basic cabin, main cabin, comfort plus, and first class. They also upgrade for more baggage than one carry-on, and for nicer amenities than what's just included in the basic cabin. So this just shows when you're booking, there's main cabin, Delta Comfort, Delta One, basic, and on an airplane, that's just like a general seat. All right, principle number 10, marginal cost. So the marginal cost of production is a change in total production cost that comes from making or producing one additional unit. The purpose of analyzing marginal cost is to determine at what point an organization can achieve economies of scale to optimize production and overall operations. The marginal cost of carrying an extra customer on a given flight compared to letting that seat go empty is extremely low. So Delta has a strong incentive to fill as many seats as possible. This maximizes their earning potential and helps keep them a leader in the industry. Interestingly enough, during the pandemic, Delta has taken measures to keep passengers safe and comfortable. So they kind of ruled out marginal cost, like the principle of it, because Delta has been leaving spaces between passengers, aka empty seats, aka lost money. But I guess it's strange times right now, so it calls for strange measures. And the airline industry is being affected because of the pandemic. An article I just read while researching said that there's no right way to price flights right now, so Delta is just basically doing everything it can to stay in business. Airlines, including Delta, have been selling tickets below marginal cost to survive during the pandemic. But these trends are slowly dying out as people are starting to travel more and things are going back to normal. All right, there's my sources that I used. And that's it for my presentation. I hope I did okay. Thank you for listening, and thank you for a great semester.